Okay, in this video I'm going to do the answers to your revision worksheets. It's important to remember mainly the rule of when we have an equal sign and we move an operation over the equal sign. So for example, if something's plussing, if it's moved over an equal sign, it'll do the opposite, which is minusing. And the same if we had a multiplication and we moved it over an equal sign, it will be a division. And remember, division can be written like a fraction as well. Okay, so let's go do a couple of these questions. So if we look at this first one, 4x equals 22, sorry. So what's actually happening there is the 4 is timesing with the x. So if I move the 4 over an equal sign, it's going to do the opposite to timesing, which is dividing. And so then when you get a fraction like this, you just make it as simple as possible. So actually 2 can go into 22 11 times and 2 can go into 4 2 times. So if you can have a number that goes into both of them, you do it and then you simplify it. So I have 11 over 2. And I'm happy for you guys to leave them in a fraction answer. Okay, in the next question, it's a bit hard to see, so I'll rewrite it out. So we've got x over 3 equals negative 5. So what is actually happening here is this 3 is dividing here. So if I move it over an equal sign, it's going to do the opposite, which is timesing. So what I essentially have is x equals, now I haven't moved the 5, so negative 5 times 3. So we can type that out, or negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. So that's the answer. So what you're going to also remember is that if you have a negative times a positive, you're going to get a negative. If you have a negative times a negative, you'll get a positive. Okay, so there might be a little things you might have to remember. Okay, going down to our next question down here, 2x minus 1 equals 13. So the first thing I'm actually going to move is the negative 1. So because it's subtracting and I'm going to move it to the other side of the equal sign, it's going to add. So I haven't moved the 2x, so I'm still writing that there, 13, but I've moved the negative 1 and it's become a plus 1. So then if I can do that, I'll do it. So 13 plus 1 is 14. And so then once again, we're looking, this 2 is timesing with the x. So if I move it over an equal sign, it will divide. So when I have x equals 14 divided by 2, which, sorry, you can do, which is x equals 7. And there's your answer. Okay, with this one, I'm just going to move it over here so that you can see it. With these numbers, when we have decimal, you most likely would have a calculator allowed. So we can still solve it and we'll show you, and you can use your calculator for the final bit. Okay, so I'm going to move this plus 3 to the first, and I'm going to move it over. So I haven't moved this 2.3x, so I've only moved the plus 3 to, so the opposite to plussing is subtracting. So I'll do that, then I'll tidy it up, and I'll actually do that. So not minus 9.4 minus a 3.2 becomes minus 12.6. And then remember, this is timesing here. So I'm going to move the 2.23 and I'll have negative 12.6 divided by 2.3. And you can do that bit on your calculator and we'll get a negative, say, I'm just going to round to one decimal place, 5.5. Okay, so remember too, if the same as what I said before with multiplying, if you have a negative divided by a positive, it will equal a negative. Okay, so it's similar to what was set up here. Okay, so now I'm up to this question here. So we're going to do the same. Now, we're going to move first the 6 here, the 6. And what the 6 is actually doing is it's a plus. So when there's no sign in front of it, we assume a plus. Now, because I'm going to move it over an equal sign, it's going to change to minus. Now, I haven't moved the negative 5x, so I'm going to leave that there. So I've got negative 14, and now I have minus 6. So now I've got negative 5x equals negative 20. And now I'm going to move this 5 over an equal sign. It's timesing there, so it will divide. So I've got negative 20 divided by negative 5. So, and that x will equal 4. And why is it a positive 4? Because if we have a negative, divided by a negative, we're going to get a positive. Okay, let's do the next one. It's a bit hard to see. I'll just fix that up. I'm going to say it's x minus 11 over 4 equals 10. Okay, because this 4 is actually dividing everything on this side, we're going to move that first. So it's dividing here. We move it over, it's going to times. So what I've left the x minus 11 on that side, but I've moved the dividing 4 and it's become a times 4. So then I'll just work that out. So 10 times 4 is 40. Now I'm going to move this negative 11 over, which will become a positive. So I haven't moved the x, so I've got 40 plus 11. So I get x equals 51. And there's the answer. Okay, going down to this next one. I'm just going to rewrite it again. So we've got negative 2 over 9 equals 5 over x. So they're saying first by inverting. Let's not worry about this. Let's just keep doing what we normally do. Now, we want this x that's down the bottom on a denominator. We want it up the top. So if you look, it is actually dividing on this side of the equals. So if I move it over the equal sign to this side, it will times. So let's do that. So I've got negative 2 over 9. I haven't moved that, but now I've moved and I'm going to say it's times x equals 5. Okay, so now you need to remember a bit of your fraction rules. This would be like saying x over 1, okay? So then with fractions, we go multiply across like that. So I'm going to move it over here. So what we actually now have is negative 2x over 9 equals 5. Now we're trying to get that x by itself again, so we'll move the 9. It's dividing here, it'll times over there. So I've got negative 2x equals 5 times 9. So I've got negative 2x equals 45. Sorry, and then I'm running out of room. So this negative 2 is timesing. So if I move it away from the x on the other side of the equal sign, it is going to divide. And you can't simplify that anymore, so I'm happy for you to leave it like that. So it'd be 45 over negative 2. Okay, so with this question B here, where they're saying solve using the cross multiplication method, what that means is, obviously we can see this D is dividing down here. So if I move it over, it will times. And the same with this 11, it's dividing. So if I move it over an equal sign, it will times. Okay, so let's do that. So what we would have is 8 times 11 equals negative 2 times D, because they were dividing and then we've moved them across. So then you can work that out. 8 times 11 is 88 and negative 2D. Now because this guy is timesing here, if you move it over, it'll divide. So I'd have 88 divided by negative 2 equals D. So, D equals negative 44. And that's because we said if a positive divided by a negative will equal a negative. Okay, so let's do the number 9 underneath. So here, what we need to be careful with this question is we've got to see this bit under here as it's like a whole group that's dividing. So it's dividing. I'm going to move this whole thing. So I'm going to put brackets around and move it. So because it's dividing here, if I move it across, it's going to multiply. So I'll do that. So I'm left with 4 equals 3 times x plus 1 over 7. Maybe I'll move this 7 now because it's in the way and I'd rather have it up the top. So it's dividing here and I'll move it over and it'll come times. So 4 times 7 equals 3x plus 1. So now we have to remember our expanding rule. So first I'm going to do 4 times 7, which is 28, Then we're our expanding, and our expanding means we have to times everything outside the bracket with inside. So 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 1 is 3. So let's keep moving now, trying to get the x by itself. So I'll move that over an equal sign. It was plussing on one side, I've moved it to the other, it will minus. So then 28 minus 3 is 25, equals 3x. I'm going to move the 3 now, which is timesing. So it means it'll divide on the other side, which equals x. So we can't simplify this anymore, so we'll just leave it like that. Okay, moving up here to number 10, where we have this one. So we want to get the x by itself. So I'm going to move this 3, which is dividing, over the equal sign. So I do that, I'm left with 2x minus 1 equals negative 4 times 3. So just tidy that up, because negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Now I'm going to move this negative 1 over, which would be doing the opposite, which is plussing. So I've got plus 1. So I've got 2x equals negative 11. And then I'm going to bring the 2 over. It's timesing, so it will divide on that side. And that's as far as I can simplify. So that's our answer. So with this next one down here, what we're going to do is, like we said, the cross multiplication method. So we're going to move this 3 over that side, which will, because it's dividing, will times, and we're going to move this 2 over that side, and it will become times. So what we really got is 3, we're moving this 3, and it's going to times with everything that was on the other side. So I'm putting a brackets around that now. And then we've got 1 times 2. So once again, you're going to have to remember your expanding rules. So when you've got the 3 on the outside, it means everything gets times by that. So 3 times negative 3x is negative 9x, and 3 times 4 is 12. So it's plus 12, and 1 times 2 is 2. So now we're going to keep going like we have been, move this over. So we've got negative 9x equals 2 minus 12, because I'm moving the plus. So I get negative 9x equals negative 10. Then I'm going to go x equals negative 10 divided by negative 9. And because it's a negative, it's actually a positive. So I'm going to change that to positive 10 over 9. Okay, question 1, which best describes the following statement? A certain number is added to 5. So we've got 5 and we've added a certain number. The total is divided by 3. This equates to, equals 2 times that number minus 8. So we're looking for something like that. And the best one is this, though I would have preferred that the 5, because a certain number is added to 5. So I would have preferred that it looked like mine, but it doesn't. But that's the best answer. The first step to solving this one, well, we would probably move that plus 6 to the other side. So they say subtract 6 from both sides. We call it like we move it to the other side, but that's fine. And the next question, solve the following for C. So with these ones, even though we've got letters, it just means this is the one we want it to have equals. So it means I want to move everything else. So at the moment, to get C by itself, I would want to move this. Now because it's minusing, if I move it over, it will become a plus. So if I had 4 plus u plus x, that would be left with C. So if you remove those brackets, which we can, because there's no number in front of it, it could be like that. So we're looking for something like this, 4 plus, all of them plussing, there's the answer, B. Okay, solve for the following. Now, we've got ones that have x's on both sides of the equal sign. So that's all right. What we say is we want to put them in the one spot. So remember I said if it has nothing in front of it, we're assuming it's a plus. So if we move it to the other side, it will become minus. Oops, sorry. It It'll be the opposite to plusing, which is minus 2x. And what I'm also going to do is move that guy on the other side of that one. So because he's minusing, he becomes a plus. So then you can do it. 4x minus 2x is 2x. And 8 plus 7 is 15. So then I'm going to move the 2, which is timesing. So 15 divided by 2. So you could, which is actually 7.5. And there's your answer. Okay, with this one, we've got to solve for x. So you could probably do it two ways. You can move the 4 first or expand. Let's practice expanding because I think we need to. So we would have 4x plus 12 equals 16. Then we're going to move this over an equal sign. So it'll do the opposite, which is 16 minus 12. So we get 4x equals 4. And then this 4 is timesing. If I move it, it'll be dividing. So I get x equals 1. There's the answer. Okay, with this one, number 6, we can do that cross multiplying. So what I'd say is I'd have 5 times 20 equals 12 times x. Tidy that up, that's 100 equals 12x. And then we want x by itself, so we'll go 100 divided by 12 equals x. And if you think about it, x, that will go into it 8 and 1/3. So that will be the answer. You can simplify that for to be that. Okay, so here they're asking us to rearrange to make b the subject. So it's like that's our unknown. So we try to move the other things. So I'm going to move this 5 first, and it's dividing, so it'll times on the other side. So I haven't moved anything else, but I got 6c times 5. Let's just tidy it up so it's easier. So I've got 6c times 5, which would be 30c. All right, I'm trying to get b by itself. So let's move this x. Now, because it has nothing in front of it, we assume it's a plus. So if it's on the other side, we'd get, it's got a minus. So then move it, it'd be minus x. Now, we actually don't want it to be negative b, we just want positive b. So that's actually like saying a little negative 1b, like that. So it's like we can move the 1. So let's do the 1. So we'd have b equals 30c minus x over negative 1. And what that negative 1 does is change the 30 to a negative, and the negative and a negative becomes a positive. But if you leave it like that, I'm happy. Like this, I won't mind. But you might see that in a multiple choice. Okay, now this one here is asking for d to be the subject. So we don't want d down the bottom here. So we're going to move it, but we've got to move it all together. So it becomes like a group. And because it's dividing, it's going to times. So let's do that cross multiplication thing where we move this dividing up to times on the other side and vice versa. So we've got 5 times 7b equals 1 times d plus c. All right, so we can times that out. That's 35b. And we can times this out as well. So we'll have 1d plus 1c. Okay, we're trying to get d by itself. So I'll move this, and over becomes 35b minus c equals d. And I've found a formula for d. This last worded problem. Brendan needs to ship 300 crates of apples across town. Quick Travel Trucking have advertised a shipping price of $400 plus $30 per crate. Write an expression that represents this. So it's an expression, so it doesn't have an equal sign. So if you think you have to always pay 400, then you have to pay plus $30 times, and n, say n's the number of crates. So we might say n equals number of crates. So that's how you're going to work out the cost. How much will it cost him to crate 300 crates? So we'll do 400 plus 30 times 300. So we're going to end up with $9,040. And if a local competitor advertises the price 500 plus 25 per crate, should Brandon use this? Well, let's work that one out. You've got to pay 500 plus 25 for the 300 crates he's got. So if we work that out, it'd be 500 plus